Hey everyone, it's Tori and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm breaking out my junk drawer BUJO again to share another top 5 best bullet journal spreads video, and today we're focusing on my favorite anxiety tracker setups. Just as a reminder, all the bullet journal supplies you see in this video will be linked in the description box below. And for these spread idea videos, I try to keep the supplies on the more minimal side so they're easy to achieve even for beginners. First, I have my 02 Sakura Pigma Micron, which is the fine liner I used throughout the video. I also use some Tombow dual brush pens for some extra color options or highlights. My Uniball Signo white gel pen is used to cover up any small mistakes. And then I have my high polymer eraser, which is the best eraser to ever exist, as well as my Artist Loft clear grid ruler for any lines I want to make sure are super straight. And lastly, I also ended up using my green circle stencil, which you will see in one of these spreads, and that will also be linked down below. Now let's hop into the top 5 best anxiety trackers in my opinion. The first anxiety tracker I'll be discussing is the simplest and also the first one I started out with in 2019. It's a simple line graph setup where the days of the month are down the y-axis and the scale is from 0 to 10. I want to mention that all of these trackers also have a place to indicate if you had a panic attack, which is one of the reasons I personally wanted to start tracking my anxiety. And in this setup, the panic attack option is indicated with a star after the 10. And for all you visual learners out there, I showed a filled out version of each of these trackers to show you how it looks when it's all filled in. Moving on to the second anxiety tracker option, which is set up like another line graph, but this time the scale is only from 1 to 5, and there's also room on the side to write any anxiety symptoms, triggers, or notes for each day next to the graph. Like I said, I used to do my tracker scale from 1 to 10 like the first one, but I switched to 1 to 5 last year because I found that I didn't need a huge range, and also my anxiety levels looked a lot less chaotic on a smaller scale if we're being honest. I personally don't usually add a space to write my symptoms or triggers, but I have in the past, and it's definitely something I need to remember to put in more often because it really helps narrow down what's causing your daily anxiety. I also want to quickly mention that you don't have to do a line graph if you prefer a bar graph or something else along those lines. It is totally up to you. I just wanted to share how to set up the trackers if you're thinking about tracking anxiety in your bullet journal, or you're looking for new ways to track it, but all these spreads are made to be completely customizable to fit your needs. As per usual in these best of bullet journal videos, I like to share my personal trackers in this style to show how I fit it into my themes each month. The third anxiety tracker setup I'm sharing with you today is set up like a mood tracker. For those of you who don't know, mood trackers are pretty popular among the bullet journaling community, and they're usually created by drawing little doodles that relate to your theme each month, and you color them in based on how high or low your mood generally is throughout the day. As you can see, I'm just drawing 31 randomly placed circles to represent any doodles you may want to create, and the key at the bottom has 4 main anxiety levels rather than a number scale, so we have none, a little, a lot, and panic, which means panic attack. And each day you can color in one doodle based on the colors or patterns you choose for your key to document your anxiety levels. I got this mood tracker style idea from when I created my first custom bullet journal for one of my friends, which will be linked in the cards and down below if you're interested. And I think tracking anxiety like this is so much more effective than mood because I find I have multiple moods throughout the day, but when I track my anxiety, I mark the highest point it got during the day, and that keeps things consistent. Here you can see I'm filling in patterns as an example, but like I said before, you can choose to do colors or even different patterns instead if you want to use this style of tracker in your own bullet journal. For the spread examples, I'm showing my mood trackers I've done in the past, but they can easily be switched out for anxiety with a simple change in the title and the key. This next anxiety tracker is for those of you who want to go more into depth and track your anxiety at different times throughout the day. So it starts out with the same days of the month down the y-axis as the first tracker setup, but I divide it into 3 sections to track anxiety levels on a scale of 1 to 5 in the morning, afternoon, and evening. I think this particular anxiety tracker setup is for those of you who experience multiple levels of anxiety on a daily basis and want to see how much it fluctuates at different checkpoints throughout the day. It gives you a much more realistic view as opposed to just seeing how high your anxiety levels got in one day, and you might even realize that your anxiety goes up or down at certain points of the day. For example, you might find that your anxiety is usually highest at night and lowest in the morning, or vice versa. The best way I could come up with to fill out this tracker style is to pick one color for each time of the day and create 3 separate bar graphs with the colors corresponding to that time period. And if you do have a panic attack that day, you can go all the way to the end of the line. The last anxiety tracker setup I have for you is combining it with your habits tracker, and if you haven't seen this video where I create these spreads, I'll have it linked in the cards and down below if you want to watch it. Here I'm just making an extra calendar in the habit tracker in a different color for the purpose of emphasizing the anxiety tracking part, and I'm creating a key below that mini calendar that shows different symbols for different anxiety levels. I also wanted to share how to implement your anxiety tracker into a grouped habit tracker style, and the key is still right next to it and similar to the key I made for the mini calendar tracker, but instead of symbols, this key shows different colors. So throughout this video, I shared how to make your anxiety tracker on its own, as well as 2 ways to implement it into your habit tracker, and I want to emphasize how important the placement of your anxiety tracker is in relation to your other bullet journal trackers. I especially found interesting results when I put my anxiety tracker next to my habit tracker, and here's why. So I just want to cut in here and say that putting your anxiety tracker next to your habit tracker is very, very important because it's one of the most helpful ways to manage your anxiety. And that's especially if your habits correspond with your anxiety relief or your anxiety causes. So if you decide to track habits that are specific to your anxiety, whether that be what you think causes your anxiety or what you think relieves your anxiety, that's what's really going to help you in this case. When it comes to habits that might cause anxiety, I used to track my coffee intake, but you can also track alcohol intake, and I've also tracked spending money. So on days that I spent money, I found out that my anxiety was a little bit high, but I especially saw that on days where my coffee intake was really high, then I saw my anxiety was really high up there. So that's when I switched to decaf finally, and my anxiety has been pretty manageable, although it still flares up at some points, but changing my coffee intake has really helped. As I said, it also really helps to track things that you believe would relieve your anxiety. So whether that be reading, working out, being productive, meditation, journaling, self-care, or calling a family or friend. Those are 7 really helpful habits. I'll have them on the screen here as well to track next to your anxiety tracker, because I find on days that when I work out, when I make my bed, which is pretty much every single day, do something self-care wise, drink a lot of water, eat healthy, and be productive. If I do a lot of those things in one day, I find that my anxiety stays to the lower end of the scale. It's basically all about just taking care of your body and taking care of your mind, and your habits and your anxiety tracker will reflect that. All right, let's get back into the voiceover. We are now getting into the final flip through portion of the video, and I want to encourage you all to comment down below what your favorite anxiety tracker is from this video, and if you currently do use anxiety trackers in your bullet journal, or if you're looking for inspiration to use it as a beginner, please comment down below your thoughts. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe while you're here. Also, don't forget to check out my bullet journal Instagram at Creative Minds Coffee Grinds for more bullet journal content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!